What's going on, everybody? Dr. Thompson here with Exemplify Health Center, your Wellness Way affiliate in Yorkville, Illinois. Happy 2001. Or maybe it's just December, 42nd, 2020. Hope you guys had a great Christmas. Hope you guys had a great New Year's. Welcome back to some of our weekly live videos. So I know that we posted that I was going to be going live at 6:30 tonight. However, circumstances change sometimes on the fly. So I want to make sure that we get this to you. So if you're watching live, thank you. Lisa, I can see you there. But obviously, if you're watching the replay too, just let me know that you're watching the replay after the fact. All right. So 2021. I know that a lot of times people, they see that this shift in time from one year to the next, a lot of times that's when people say, this is when the goals are going to happen. So it's almost like, you turn over the clock to a brand new year and you get all of these new goals and things like that. So obviously being in health and wellness for many, many years, I understand that, a lot of times people make New Year's resolutions. They decide they're going to get in shape. They decide they're going to quote unquote lose weight. They're going to get their health back on track. They're going to do all of those things. And listen, I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but here's what I would rather you do is not have to set goals, but rather work on priorities. And so, if you're constantly working on priorities every single day, then you really don't have to go try to figure out a diet. You don't have to figure out that you're going to work out. You don't have to try to figure out all those things because you've just been doing them every single day. That's why priorities are so important. So, today I'm going to work out. I don't want to, but it's a priority of mine. So I'm going to make sure that we handle those priorities. So let's talk about roadblocks to weight loss. I know coming up, we're going to be doing an actual talk in our office Saturday, January, I want to say maybe 23rd, 22nd. It's right around on that Saturday. We're going to go into this a lot more detail so it makes a lot more sense. But let me give you kind of a big idea when it comes to roadblocks to weight loss. And so who am I talking to when it comes to roadblocks to weight loss? And this actually happens in some men, but it happens in women a lot more. And, these are the people who they try to lose weight and they might lose 6 or 7 pounds and then it's just done. It doesn't matter what happens. They got some really bad problems getting past that point. And even several years ago, helping people do that, with some people, we ran into this whole kind of roadblock when it came to continuing with weight loss. And I'm going to tell you guys the reason why this happens, especially when it comes to women, okay? And so I know this is a point of frustration with so many people. But one of the things is that a lot of times when people try to get to this whole point of I am going to lose weight, a lot of times what I see people is that they just try to eat less. They continue to eat bad, but they just eat less. And it goes down this whole idea, this whole path of weight loss is just as simple as calories in, calories out. And it doesn't really matter what you eat as long as you're just putting in less energy and expend more energy out. As if we're just some sort of like battery. Like you run out of battery. And so energy in, energy gets drained. Put in a little bit less energy and then, you'll start to burn your reserves. And the thing is when it comes to weight loss, guys, one of the things I want to reiterate is I will say that we are probably the best when it comes to helping people lose weight. However, we don't really mention it that much because I'm going to say something, guys, is that if you are that person where you lose 6 or 7 pounds and it really gets stuck or you're losing muscle mass after that and you're not feeling very good, there's a problem with your health. And the answer is not to restrict calories even more. The answer is not to try to exercise more. That is not the answer because I've seen people who go to health coaches, and whatnot. And, if it's not working, then they just continue to whip you even more. I don't know what the saying is the beatings will continue until morale improves. And so people just continue to get more and more frustrated. And eventually, they just give up or they might just move on to the next fad that is taking place. So let's go over some of these major roadblocks when it comes to weight loss. Guys, if you're watching this right now and this is you, where, you can't get past 6 or 7 pounds and it's like literally you lose like a half a pound a month, and you just keep trying to drive down your caloric intake after that. Make sure that you continue to watch this, but more importantly, share this video too, because there are a lot of people who are going through this. And remember, it's not the fact that you can, it's not the fact that you are maybe not putting in, you're putting in less calories and you need to put in less. There's something that's going on when it comes to your physiology. So let me go over with you real quick some of the biggest roadblocks when it comes to weight loss. Now, let me say this. If you are trying to fight fat, you are fighting the wrong enemy, okay? So if you are fighting fat, you're fighting the wrong enemy. Too many people think that fat is the enemy. And I'm gonna make a bold statement. Fat is a fairly inert tissue, okay? So yes, more fat can cause some inflammation. Yes, fat can release estradiol. So yes, it actually has a hormonal component to it as well. But just remember this, if you're putting on fat and you do not know why, and you are actually watching your food and things like that, then think of this. For some reason, the body wants to put on fat as a way to possibly even make more estradiol, because it might be very hormonally deficient, okay? So we don't actually talk a lot about weight loss. We don't talk a lot about fat in our office. What we talk about is regaining and restoring health and normalizing physiology. Inflammation has a big role when it comes to that. But guys, you gotta stop, quote unquote, trying to lose weight just because you're trying to get rid of fat. So it can be absolutely exhausting if you're trying to go to that aesthetically pleasing look, because just remember this, society will say, society determines what is aesthetically pleasing. And many times what is quote unquote aesthetically pleasing at the moment does not necessarily mean that it is healthy. So we got to stop fighting the fat and start championing, hey, let's get into actually normalizing physiology inside the body. So here's my first question, okay? Here's my first question. Are you inflamed? Okay? If you are suffering with systemic inflammation, you will have a hard time losing weight. Now, let's just talk about the number on the scale, because the number on the scale, I believe, is a liar, right? I'll give you a perfect example. So we had a young girl, 15 years of age, suffering with PCOS, can't get a menstrual cycle. She goes to a natural doctor, and the doctor says, you should be on keto, and we're going to give you some diabetic medication. It was probably the worst thing that she could have done. And the reason why is because none of them measured any kind of inflammatory levels. None of them actually measured inflammatory levels of specific foods and things like that. But once we started looking at inflammation levels, once we started having her avoid specifically, perfect example, inflammatory foods and food allergies and things like that, within 4 weeks, now we didn't talk about weight loss at all, but within 4 weeks, she lost 14 pounds. Now, is that 14 pounds of fat? No. It is not 14 pounds of fat. What did she primarily lose? Well, just remember, if something gets inflamed, it gets swollen, and it actually brings in water. So that first 14 pounds, a lot of it was just losing inflammation, and what goes with the inflammation is gonna be water weight. It wasn't stored sugar, it wasn't any of that, because we really did not restrict her sugars, but what we did restrict is inflammatory foods. So the cool thing is in 4 weeks, she actually got her menstrual cycle back, and she lost 14 pounds. Again, it's 14 pounds primarily of swelling and inflammation. So for example, guys, if you go and you eat, and every time that you eat, and you put on 5 or 6 or 7 pounds of water weight, then the reality is you are eating foods. There's a problem in your digestive system. You're eating foods that are inflammatory, but you probably have some issues with digestion and things like that, stomach and pancreas, the liver, maybe the gallbladder, things like that. So, and I tell people, they get so excited when that happens. They're like, Dr. Nate, I lost 17 pounds in the first month. I'm like, congratulations. It really wasn't fat as much as it was just inflammation. So again, If you eat a dinner and you wake up the next day and you're 8 or 9 pounds heavier, that was not fat. That is inflammation, and you need to start handling that first, okay? Now, here's number 2. Are you stressed? Are you stressed? I'm stressed. The chances are if I'm stressed, you are probably stressed as well. And here's how stress and stress hormones and things like that play into weight loss, okay? So just remember this, if you have a high amount of stress hormone, what's going to be causing a lot of high amount of stress hormone like cortisol? Well, if you're not getting enough sleep, if you are inflamed, if you are mentally stressed, if you are over-exercising, because I see people that do this, gosh, it's not, things aren't budging. Maybe if I exercise more. And guys, there comes to a point where exercise gets into this law of diminishing returns and sometimes can be even detrimental. Somebody asked me the question, Dr. Nate, why don't you ever recommend someone running a marathon? And I think this is true for men and women. You should not run a marathon unless it's some kind of like personal life goal. Train for it, do it, and never do it again, okay? And the reason why is chronic overexercise is going to raise those stress hormones. And guys, you can even look this up. This is a peer-reviewed journal where they said if you got elevated levels of cortisol, could actually cause the deposition of cellulite. So you can see if someone is chronically overstressed, if they have cellulite, backs of the legs, the thighs, the butt. And this actually goes to how you're exercising, but it also goes to your overall stress levels. What are these physical and mental and chemical stressors? And if you have that, you're already stressed. Then you add the stress of trying to do this whole calories in and calories out, which is going to be another stressor. Or you say, well, maybe if I just start exercising more, you're going to understand it's not going to work. So how are you handling your stress, your mental stress, okay? Here's the third thing. How is your liver? How's your liver functioning? Well, Dr. Nate, what do you mean how my liver is functioning? I go to my doctor, they run my blood work, and they say everything is good. No. You have to go a lot deeper than that. Yes, you can see some things when you go to the doctor. They do your annual blood work, which is basically just a CBC, a complete blood count, and a complete metabolic panel, a CMP. And they're just looking at some liver enzymes. But again, when your liver enzymes are elevated, really what it means is that your liver's been having a bad day for a very long time. You're going into not just adaptive physiology, you're going into disease physiology. So how is your liver? So I want to say this. Generally speaking, the people who have the hardest time losing weight are going to be women who have some liver issues that are going on. Well, how do you know if you've had some liver issues? Well, let me ask you a question. Do you still have your gallbladder? If you have had a problem with gallstones, got your gallbladder out, you have a big time problem with bile metabolism, excuse me, that bile metabolism, those enzyme pathways are the same as estrogen metabolism. The same pathways when it comes to taking a fatty acid and turning it into water and energy, that happens at the liver. So you got any problems with liver inflammation? You got any problems with fatty liver disease? Have you been downing a bunch of high fructose corn syrup? Have you been having hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated oils? Those are some of the things that start this whole entire process. And so are you toxic too? So you add everyday toxins, you add high fructose corn syrup, you add hydrogenated oils, which by the way, take about 90 days to properly metabolize at the level of the liver. Then those liver enzyme pathways can start to get bogged down, they start to get overwhelmed, and now you're gonna have a really hard time pulling fat and being able to make it water soluble to turn into, energy. Now, one of the things that we do, especially when we take people through very specific detox, if they need it, is we will do a body fat scan. Now, it's not because I care necessarily about body fat, but we do what's known as an in-body. An in-body is about as close as you can get as far as measuring body fat without having to go to a pool and go underwater and do like the water type weighing, displacement weighing. But we want to see this when we do it. Pre-detox, we want to see what the person's weight is and their body fat percentage. Post-detox, we want to see what their weight is and also how their body fat percentage actually changed. Here is the thing, guys. This is what's so important with your liver. And guys, what I'm going to tell you right now is going to blow you out of the water. Make sure that you share this. But One of the things that you will see is someone's got a really bad liver as they start to lose weight. And yes, they may lose some water weight. Yes, they may lose some inflammation. But the body has such a hard time being able to metabolize fat as an energy source. And if you are chronically under eating or you're trying to quote unquote diet, then what happens is your body says, we need to get this energy from somewhere. We cannot get it from fat. We may have actually already gone through all your sugar stores, is stored in the liver, stored in the muscle mass. So I guess where we have to get it from is we're going to have to get it from protein. And where you then start to metabolize and break down for energy is you're going to start getting it from your muscle mass. So the reason why afterwards, when we do an in-body scan, we want to say, where did this stuff pull from? Where did you get this energy from? And so it means that the liver function is getting better when you start to see that fat metabolism start to improve, that people start to lose fat, but they actually were able to maintain and spare their muscle mass. Sometimes you can see, I've seen people with great functioning liver, especially after detox, where you see it was basically almost all fat metabolism, very little protein metabolism. And I've seen some people where it's been half and half, and I've seen some people where a lot of it still was protein. And that means that you probably still need to be working on your liver for at least another time, or maybe even another 2. So this can be an ongoing process. So remember, you need healthy liver metabolism, and nobody is actually talking about this, okay? Here's the next one. How is your exercise? How is your exercise? How is it, okay? So can you actually effectively lose weight without exercising at all? Yes, I will say it again. Yes. Do I love exercise? Absolutely, but I don't try to exercise to lose weight. I actually try to exercise instead to improve movement and function in my body and to also help with a lot of hormone sensitivity, okay? So how is your exercise? And I will say this, probably one of the worst things you can do, especially if there's some liver issues, is that you are doing long, drawn out, moderate intensity exercise, because again, it's going to raise your cortisol levels. But again here, think of this. If you are trying to run and you're doing it at a moderate pace, just remember this, your body will try to adapt to make you an efficient runner. I want you to think of something. What does it take in order for you to become an efficient runner? You will notice that you will start to lose body mass. So you may be losing weight, but you actually may be losing muscle mass, because the body says, in order for me to be an efficient runner, I need to become lighter. And that's why you never see a marathon runner who has an incredible amount of muscle mass. It's just a normal adaptation. So I want you to think of this. What's driving your metabolism? One of the things that's driving your metabolism is how much muscle mass you have. Muscle mass has a lot higher metabolic output than fat mass. Fat does not burn a whole heck of a lot of energy. So those cells are pretty inert when it comes to your physiology. But as far as your exercise, you need to be exercising to actually improve your muscle mass. This is why I love the whole idea, and I own a CrossFit gym, but let's call it something else. Let's call it high intensity, short duration exercise. Let's call it functional fitness. Let's call it circuit training with weights. But you should be getting all of these things at once, meaning, yes, I'm going to elevate my heart rate. Yes, it's going to help to increase my being able to deliver oxygen to the tissues inside the body. So it's improving cardiovascular function, but we also wanted to, at the end of the day, help to stimulate and to increase muscle mass. And we also wanted to help you move better, meaning I want you to be able to squat better. I want you to be able to pull things off the ground better. I want you to be able to press things off the ground better. I want you to become better at everyday life, because think of this. If you are doing the elliptical, if you are just jogging in a straight linear line, if you are just doing just one thing, it will not improve your everyday life. Name one thing in your life that you need to run in a straight line for 30 minutes in a linear path, okay? At least if you're gonna do that, shorten the time, run faster, and add some zigzags into it, because at least it will make you have more agility. So how is your exercising? Because yes, there are a lot of people who I will tell you are exercising wrong, and you're thinking, I need to exercise in order to burn calories. And I say, you don't exercise to burn calories. You exercise to actually prime the pump. Because remember, even when it comes to your thyroid, where your T4 is converted into T3, it happens in the liver, it happens in the gastrointestinal system, and it also happens in your skeletal muscle mass. So guess what? When you start losing muscle mass, you will actually start to decrease thyroid conversion, which means what happens to your metabolism continues to go down and down and down. And yes, what you have to do then is you have to start eating less. You start eating less, and then you notice you keep exercising more, lose more muscle mass, metabolism goes down, and it's this never-ending cycle of you having to eat less and exercise more in order to try to keep up, and it's absolutely exhausting. So how is your exercise? Now, how's your sugar intake? So how is your sugar intake? Now, if I asked 100 people, do you eat a lot of sugar? 99% of people, they say, nope, I don't eat a lot of sugar, okay? But it's important that you actually define what we mean by sugar, all right? So you're not just taking this granulated powder that's highly addictive. No, I'm not talking about cocaine. I'm talking about sugar. But it's also the sources that quickly turn to sugar or glucose inside your body, things that are easily digested, rapidly absorbed by the small intestines, and spike your blood sugar. So yes, I'm talking about really anything that will do that. So what does that include? That is going to include, yes, sugar. That is going to include high fructose corn syrup. Well, high fructose corn syrup, not as much. That does a whole number on the liver in and of itself because of fructose. But this also includes things like grains. It includes things like chips. It includes things like pretzels. It includes pasta. Yes, it includes white rice. It includes all of those things. And so you really have to look at all of those different sources in order to see what your sugar intake is. Guys, I'm going to tell you, you don't need a lot of sugar. Do you need sugar? Yes, absolutely. People say, well, how much sugar do I need? Everyone's going to be a little bit different. Yes, I do need some sugar in order to do high intensity exercise, but I think as a general rule, if you're getting 25% of your total calories from specific sugar sources, and what are they going to be the best? Vegetables only. Am I a fan of avoiding fruit? Yes, in some people, but we have a lab to actually back that up. I know a lot of diet gurus or nutrition coaches, things like that, absolutely have a conniption when I say that. But just remember, you have some problems with the liver. It does not add to it to start to continue to add in fructose, which must be processed at the liver, and then it has to get diverted into fat storage and then broken back down. This is why fructose can be so damaging. Yes, high fructose corn syrup, and yes, some fruit. So have we had people avoid fruit? Absolutely. But we know because of the problem with the liver. Can they reintroduce fruit back in? Yep. We just did it the other day. We said, hey, start having some fruit. Labs are looking good. A1C is going back down. She's lost 25 pounds. She's feeling amazing. And she says, can I start adding some fruit in? I said, yeah, you can start doing that because we have a lab in order to see that things are improving, especially at the liver. So guys, how do you know how much sugar that you take? Just remember this, what you don't measure, you don't know. And so if you took a week and said, I'm not going to change anything about my diet, I'm just going to go and I'm going to start to just really measure what kind of sugar I'm putting into my mouth every single day, you would be absolutely floored of how much sugar there is in the hidden sources of sugar, including condiments like ketchup, which also will contain sugar. Some of these pasta sauces are super high in sugar, so it can be hidden or they're just flat out there. So start to know what the sources of sugar are and start measuring them, and you can see that you are probably having way too much sugar when it comes to your diet, okay? So those are some of the things that can be some roadblocks to weight loss, okay? Now, I will tell you this, all right? I don't like, there's some people who go online and actually they don't actually tell people what it is they do. Their whole internet presence is actually how bad everyone else is. And meanwhile, you have no idea what they do. So they don't stand for what they do. All they do is just they sit and they bash what every other person is or what they perceive another person is. Yes, there's a lot of bad information out there. There's no question about it. But there's also a lot of stuff that gets taken out of context. And I've been on both sides of the spectrum. And I will say this, I don't like to bash people, but please do this, okay? If you are going to hire a nutrition coach, and they immediately start with calories in and calories out, that's actually the wrong place to start. Now, have I talked to people about calories in, calories out? Yes, I have, but it is after after you have handled some foundational things first. This is true especially when we work with some athletes and things like that, where we're trying to fuel performance, but we've also handled liver, we've handled inflammation, we've handled the digestive system. And then after that, then it becomes fine tweaking. This is a little thing. This is not the main thing. So run away if they're saying calories in, calories out. And that's their main goal. That's their main focus. Number two, run away. If people just say you can have whatever you want, just eat less of it, okay? So again, that just comes down to just put in less energy. Things are going to be good. We know that hasn't worked for a majority of people. Otherwise, we wouldn't have 2/3 of the United States that are considered overweight or obese. So yes, we tell people to restrict foods. Which are the ones that we're going to restrict? The things that we have a lab on, the things that are not lending to their health, okay? And so people say, oh, you mean you're going to take that away from me? And I'm like, yes, I'm going to take it away from you. Maybe later we can put it back in, but don't get so emotional about it, because who has the control? Is it the food or is it you? Okay. Here's the third thing. Third thing is people say this: follow this protocol. All you got to do is you got to do my protocol. If you do my protocol, things are going good. Just remember this: people who have a protocol, all they care about is if they can help 10% of the people. Because the 10% of the people are going to sing their praises. The other 90% are going to quit, move on to something else. And so remember, nobody has a protocol. One patient versus another patient can be dramatically different, okay? That's why it's so important that you guys have labs. Or this, their only test is a scale and how you feel, okay? So their only test is by looking at a scale or looking at body fat percentage. Because again, I've seen some people die at very low on a scale, and it was called cancer, right? So here you have someone, they're at the end stage of the cancer, they are skin and bones, all right? Yes, they lost a lot of weight, but no, they are not healthy. Or it's based on how you are feeling, okay? So those things are liars. Those things are liars. And guys, yes, the scale can be a liar. Everybody has a different body type, and it can be very unique. So if you are trying to get to what society says you're supposed to look like, I guarantee you are going to be chasing after your tail. Because 20 years ago, it was get as skinny as possible, and now it's have a large rump. That's what people are trying to do. And none of them actually means that you are healthy or you're not. It just says society says you're going to be a slave to what we say is beautiful, okay? Now, from my personal experience, guys, someone asked a great question. What are your thoughts about body mass index? Body mass index is literally, I'll say, just be perfectly blunt, it's the stupidest measurement I've ever seen, okay? Body mass index. Because all it is a measurement of your height, and it's a measurement of your weight. So it's basically height in centimeters or meters divided by the kilograms that you weigh, okay? Now, they use body mass index to do a lot of the extrapolation when it comes to your health insurance, when it comes to specifically life insurance, whether you are high risk or not. Now, when they say that 2/3 of people are overweight or obese, yes, they are using body mass index. Now, is body mass index never correct? It can be correct, but it is not necessarily always accurate. So when can body mass index actually be a decent indicator? If you're not exercising at all or one bit. But just remember this, according to a body mass index, I am considered overweight and borderline obese, okay? So that is considered that. So here's what body mass index never takes into account, is if you start going on a weight training program, and I'm gonna tell you something, if you wanna put on muscle mass, the best way to do it is actually gonna start doing weighted squats, deadlifts, and presses. Those are the three things that are going to put mass. And you can put a lot of mass on by doing those things because you're working the biggest movers and shakers in your body, the shoulders, the butt, and the quads, and that will work tremendously. So think of this, is that if you then were starting to weightlift and you gain more muscle mass, you improve function, you started moving better, then yes, technically you could put on 5, 7, 10 pounds of muscle mass and now become overweight because now you have actually gained muscle, and BMI does not measure muscle mass. And in fact, for my family's health insurance, I think every 2 years, I have to certify what my height and what my weight is, and I have to do, like a physical and just look at some blood work. And every time I have to send them a letter, and I have to say, here's my body fat percentage. Here is how often I work out. Here's what I do. Here is my A1C. Here's my blood sugar. You can obviously see that I'm not obese and I'm not overweight. And they say, yeah, I guess. But I have to jump through so many hurdles to prove it to me. So I get punished for actually exercising and for working out. So long answer, BMI, absolutely stupid. There's a lot better things that you can actually measure than trying to measure BMI. Okay? So guys, if you are in, guys, the Yorkville area, so within, 20 miles or so of Yorkville, Illinois, coming up a week from this Saturday. I don't even know what day it is anymore. I'm going to say around the 22nd, 23rd. It's that Saturday. We're going to be having a talk, Roadblocks to Weight Loss, how you destroy these roadblocks. And I'm going to be going over each one of these in a lot more detail, specifically how you actually look at that on the labs. And we're even going to go into like literally physiology when it comes to stress hormones, the spine, the nerve system, all of those different things. Because here's what's really crazy. I've had people who literally, they started working on getting adjusted, correcting their spine and the nerve system, and they have lost 30 pounds without thinking about it. And they said, what kind of hocus pocus voodoo are you doing on me? And the reason why is because their biggest roadblock to weight loss was actually how much stress the spine and the nerve system was under because of the position of the spine. And then you start getting the spine in a normal anatomical position, start getting it to move normally, and it will relax the central nerve system, and the brain says, hey, that's really good. I'm not as stressed out anymore. Stress hormones go down, gives the body permission to lose weight. This is what's so bad with stress hormone. Just remember, anytime that there's stress hormone, the body says, I'm under attack. So it goes into preservation mode, and that preservation mode means, yes, I need to down-regulate my physiology. Because listen, if I have a bear that's chasing me, I'm stuck up in a tree, I don't know when I'm going to come out, or I'm in starving mode, whatever it might be, I'm going to down-regulate my physiology to try to become as efficient as possible. And this is where the cortisol works with the thyroid, the adrenals, all of that, and it will start to down-regulate that. So chronic stress is a huge, can be a huge issue when it comes to weight loss and things like that, okay? All right, guys, I appreciate that question. I appreciate you guys being live. And again, guys, if you guys learn a lot from this, please share this with other people. But if you are in the Yorkville area, look at the top of our page, and we have the link where you guys can register for Roadblocks for Weight Loss coming up on Saturday, again, January 22nd, 23rd. And it will be an in-person event. And it will be absolutely awesome. All right. And we also have another announcement coming the week afterwards for an event that are going to be just for men. This one's going to be awesome. Not just for men, the hair color, just for men. The event is going to be just for men. It's going to be called Man Up. We'll give you more information later on that. All right. So guys, I hope you guys have a great afternoon. We will talk soon, and I'll keep you guys updated when we're going to be going live again. All right. Be well.